Hey there, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of your second session Algebra 1 summer school class. This is Mr. Paul. I wanted to just reiterate a couple things and then go through a quick little lesson on polynomials that might be helpful for you for today's tutorial and mastery tests. So first of all, you guys all should be familiar with my website. I would suggest that you guys bookmark this because you're going to want to be going to this daily. So put that in one of your bookmarks. Star it as a favorite or something like that, just so you can access it quickly and not have to go searching for it. If you are having questions with your scheduling, wasn't sure if maybe you should be signed up for the class, don't forget there's a link right up here. You guys can click on and fill it out, and then it'll send you to a form to fill out for the counselors and administration, and I'll take a look at it. Okay. Just about all of you are on my Remind app. That's great. Not all of you, though, unfortunately, are. So if you are one of those, please make sure you get on my Remind. There's the address, or you can use your phone and just text it right now and then get logged into Remind. Remember, that is the best way to get a hold of me for quicker response. Otherwise, my email is up there, and it's another way to contact me as well. Daily office hours. So after today's meet and greet, from here on out, if you have questions, you need help, 10 to 11 is when I'm on my Google Meet, and I'm more than happy to help you guys out with any kind of questions that you guys might have. All right. So again, from tomorrow on, you guys are going to be at your own pace. Remember, though, at your own pace means, though, that you still have to log in daily, right? It's log in before 12. Make sure that you complete the course modules assigned for that day. You can't get ahead, but you can go back if you need to, redo or retake or refresh or anything like that. That's available for you guys. How long do you need to be on for? That's up to you as far as how long does it take for you guys to get through the material. Okay. Many lessons like these or other videos that I post are up there for you guys for support. The Remind is the best way to get to me. And then please make sure that you guys are checking your Aries daily, right? Because I will be updating it daily. Sometimes at night or sometimes in the morning. It just depends. Like I had told you guys before, I've got 2 kids, and things can get crazy. So it just kind of depends on how the day goes as far as when that'll get done. But just check it daily. If you have questions, like I said, let me know. But that is going to be the accurate word to find out how you're doing in the class at that moment. When you guys go on to Edmentum, that grade that you see is not the grade in your class. That's just about the percentage of the coursework that you've completed so far. So it's not telling you what your grade is. So that's why I take your scores from what you do and I put them into the grade book, and that's your running grade at the time. Okay. Like I said, a little bit better second session, fewer post tests, which is good for you guys. Please make sure that if you guys need that help, that you or you're struggling, that you take some notes. All right. Told you guys, take some notes, write some stuff down, keep that available, so that way you guys can go back and refer back to it and use that to study and review and assist while you guys are going through the tutorials and the mastery tests and post tests. Okay. You obviously have the computer available for you for that kind of resources and that kind of information as well. Let's see. What else? All right, clever. Okay, so we should all be familiar with the attendance. You guys need to log in before 12. You can't be gone. If you don't log in that day, then that's considered an absence. And if you have 2 of those, then you're dropped from the class. If you log in after 12, that's considered tardy. And if you have 4 of those, then you guys are dropped from the class. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation. So just get logged in, and then maybe that means go to bed a little bit earlier. I know you guys don't like that, but you've got 12 days. Just think about that. You've got 12 days to finish this off, and then you got the rest of July to enjoy and to relax and to unwind and not have to worry about school. All right. So Clever is how you get to the to Edmentum. Bookmark that. Okay, and then once you bookmark Clever, then you're gonna heart the Edmentum app and to make it one of your favorites. And then when you click on it, then it opens up another screen. Mine already went past that, but remember, you're supposed to go to courseware and click on summer school Tustin High. Remember, if it doesn't go to that screen, close it down, go back to Edmentum, click on it again, and then it should bring it back to that correct screen. If it's asking you for you to log in again with a username and password and things like that, then it didn't send it to the right place. So close it down, open it up again. Right? You click on courseware, you click on summer school, Tustin High, and then it'll take you to Edmentum, and you begin your coursework. Now, the only things that are unlocked are the things that you can do up to what you can do. So if you're saying, well, it's not letting me take the next thing because it's locked, well, then it's probably because you've done enough that you need to do for today. Now, remember, you get the opportunity and the fortunateness of being able to retake mastery tests. So after you guys finish the tutorial, you guys are going to be getting a mastery test, and you get your score, and you can see what your score is. And if it's not as high as you want it to be, or if it's below 60, then you should be retaking it. And the way that you retake your mastery test is you have to click back and go back through the tutorials, go back through them, then it unlocks the mastery test, and then you can retake the test. All right. So you get up to 5 attempts to redo that. So that's a great way to bring up your grade. And make sure that you guys are going to be passing this class. Remember, 60% or higher, because that's what a passing grade is. So on, what did I say? Next Wednesday, I believe you guys are going to get a link to take a survey that's going to let us know if you want to take the class for credit or if you want to take the class for a grade. So, depending on what you want to do, depends on how much you need to, maybe retake the mastery test to bring up your grade. All right. So today's lesson, we're going to be starting with polynomials. Right. Now, the way that I do this is I pick up some of my notes that I have from my previous sessions of teaching Algebra 1. Since you're able to pause and stop this, you can go at your pace. Some of the work's already done for you guys because it is just kind of self-explanatory, but maybe you wanted to see if you were doing it correctly, and I'll revisit it and talk about it briefly. But otherwise, go back, rewind this. If you need to, if you think you missed something, or let me know, and I'll answer your questions if you have any. Okay. All right. Polynomials, things that you should know. We talking about different types, and it all depends on the prefix. A monomial, mono means one term. Binomial, well, the prefix bi, like a bicycle, means 2 terms. Okay? And a trinomial, it has a prefix of tri, which means it means 3 terms. Okay? A polynomial, all right, is one or more terms. Okay? And a term could be a variable, it could be a constant and a variable, or it could be multiple of those together. All right. So again, a term is, think of a group, and a group meaning, if it's a letter and a number and they're next to each other, that's a group. Okay? Or if it's a number and multiple letters next to each other, that's going to be a group. A degree of a polynomial, let's see, a degree of a monomial, right? It's going to be the sum of the exponents of the variables in the... All right, sorry my writing's getting a little sloppy here. It's a little bit tricky to write at that angle. All right, so a degree of a monomial, if you take your variables and you look at the powers and then you add them up, okay, then that is the degree of the monomial. And I'll show you guys what I'm talking about in a second. Okay, remember standard form of a polynomial, ax squared plus bx plus c. Really what we're reiterating is that you always start with the highest degree. So again, this is our highest degree of power of 2. Our next highest right here would be this one, x to the power of, even though you don't see it, it's to the power of 1. And this c is considered a constant, right? And a constant has like a degree of 0. Okay, so this would be standard form, always working from the highest degree down to the lowest degree. So think about numbers in terms of, highest to lowest or tallest to shortest kind of deal. All right, jumping around, here we go, a polynomial. So this is a little chart that I have here, okay? And we are looking at the degrees, right? So if we have 7x plus 4, we're looking at a degree of 1, okay, right here. All right, and then the name of this, based off of the degree, is linear. And if you think about it, if you were to graph this, y equals 7x plus 4, that would be a straight line, all right? So anything with a degree of 1 is always going to be a straight line. It's going to be linear. How many terms are there, right? Well, there's 1, 2 terms. So that means that it is a binomial. All right, next one. What degree is this? Okay, well, the highest degree of the monomial is a degree of 2. Okay, and then what are we going to call that? Well, if we were to look at that graph, that would be a U-shaped graph, and U-shaped graphs we call quadratics. So that's a quadratic. Okay, and how many terms? This is considered a term, this is considered a term, and this is considered a term. Right? They're separated by either a plus sign or a minus sign. Right? There are 3 terms, which means that this is a trinomial. All right, this one has a degree of 3, and this is a cubic. Okay. And there's only 1 term. This entire thing is 1 term, and so that means that it is a monomial. All right, this one has a degree of 4, and anything after 3 or 4 and above, we don't come up with any kind of fancy name for it. We just call it by its degree. Right? So this is going to be a 4th degree, and there are 1, 2 terms, so that's a binomial. Right, this is the number 5, right? So that actually has a degree of 0, right? And that is a constant. Okay? So if you ever have a number without a variable next to it, it's called a constant. It means that it's never going to change. It has a degree of 0, and that is a monomial still. Okay, so remember, anything after 3, we just call it by its number. Think about it like in terms of belts. If you're in like martial arts, black belt, 4th degree black belt, or karate, or whatever. So we just call it by its number after 3. Okay, and then anything after 3 terms, then 4 or more terms, then we just call that a polynomial. All right, polynomial. Okay. Real quick, adding polynomials. Remember, when you're adding them, you have to add like terms together. So this is pretty easy what I did, and you don't have to, but I like to kind of stack them so that I know what are my like terms. And then when you add them together, remember the powers do not change. So notice this is a power of 2, this is a power of 2. And then when I add together, it's still a power of 2. You just add the coefficients. Okay, so I'm adding the 4 plus the 2, and that's how we come up with the 6. Right, 6 minus 9, that's how we come up with a minus 3, or this negative 3. The x doesn't change, and the constant here. Okay, another way to do that is sometimes people just do this and go, okay, 9w cubed plus 7w cubed is, 9 plus 7 is 16. 16w to the third power, that doesn't change. Right. If you were going to stack them, though, notice that the 4 doesn't go under the 8w squared because they're not like terms, so you don't add them together. Okay, this is a term, this is a term. Think about this as like the hundreds place, this is the tens place, this is the ones place, or actually a little off than that. But think about they're in different places. So think about in terms of place values. Okay, they're not the same place value. You can't add them together. They don't have the same. They don't have the same power. Then they can't be combined together. They're not like terms. Right. Right. So that's what we got here. These were like terms, and those were like terms, and that's why I stacked them to come up with my answer. Hold on. There we go. All right. The mistakes that tend to happen when we are adding and subtracting polynomials is subtracting them. And what students tend to forget is that this minus sign, when you're subtracting, think about it in terms like a -1. And that -1 has to get distributed to everything inside the parentheses. So what's happening is this -1 gets multiplied times this x cubed, which is why it turns into a negative x cubed. This -1 times -8x squared turns into positive 8x squared. And this -1 times positive 11 turns that into a minus 11. Okay, if you need to put a place value where there is no term, then you put a 0 in there, kind of like holding its place. Right? Then I add them together. Okay, so like terms get added together, and it's easy to just kind of go down the columns and then add them up that way. All right, so remember, take your negative sign and distribute it to all the terms in to the right of that negative sign inside that parentheses. And negative times a positive is a negative times a negative is a positive, and a negative times a positive is a negative, right? So common mistakes that tend to happen is students forget to do that, and then they end up messing up their answers in the end, okay? Don't change the powers when you're combining them, and remember to distribute the negative sign. Multiply it with what's outside with everything that's inside the parentheses. All right, speaking of distributing, right, so just like I just got done saying, you're distributing. Well, that's what you guys are going to do here. Remember, take the term that's outside and multiply it by everything inside. So this becomes 4r times r, 4r squared. And the way I got that is I added the powers together. That's a power of 1. That's a power of 1. You add them up and you get 2. 4r times -1, negative 4r. 6h squared times h squared, 6h to the fourth. Now it's not because it's 2 times 2, I got it because I added the powers. So it's 2 plus 2, that's why it's the power of 4. Next one, 6h squared plus 8h. Well, that's a positive. 6 times 8, 48. H, now you add the powers together. So this isn't h squared, this is power of 2 plus the power of 1. H cubed. And then the last one, 6h squared times negative 3. 6h squared times negative 3. A positive times a negative is a negative. 6 times 3 is 18. And h squared doesn't have any other h's to multiply with, so it stays as it is. All right, write it in standard form. Remember, standard form is the highest degree, and the highest degree right now is x cubed. So I'll start by writing that one first. X cubed. The next thing I have is 3x squared and a 5x. So if I added those together, that's going to give me 8x squared. Notice I didn't change the powers because I'm adding them. I am adding them. You only change it when you're multiplying do the powers change, not when you're adding them. All right, now I've got an x and an x. So if I add those together, oh wait, that's a positive x and that's a negative x. All right, so that means, just double check. Nope, they were positive x and positive x. Got to see my writing. All right, so this is a positive x, that's a positive x, that's a positive 2x. And then the last thing we have is a plus 1. Boom. That's standard form. Highest degree down to the lowest degree. Okay, take what's outside, multiply or distribute it to everything inside. So that's going to be w times w is w squared. W times 1 is w. Positive 4w times w. Positive 4w squared. Positive 4w times negative 7. Negative 28w. Okay. Now I can see, can I combine anything? Yeah, like terms. W squared and a w squared. Well, together that's 5w squared. A w and a negative 28w. Well, together that's negative 27w. Yeah. Now, before I distribute, make sure you can't combine anything inside. All right, so see if you can collect like terms first. This will help you guys on your mastery test. See if you can collect like terms first, and then you're going to go to distributing. All right. This one's the same. This one, like I said before, just remember that you're taking what's outside this negative as a negative 1, and you're distributing it to everything inside. So that would be a negative 5t cubed minus 7t plus 2. And then I add them up, add the columns. 3 minus 5, that's negative 2t cubed. Negative 6 plus a negative 7, negative 13t. 8 plus 2 plus 10. Boom. Okay. All right. That's it. Okay. So hopefully that'll help you guys with adding and subtracting polynomials.